Well, good morning, everyone. Today is April the 29th. This is another live show. Hope you enjoy this one. And I guess as the morning progresses here throughout this hour, there will be more people joining us along the way. So today I will be going through a number of, hey, good morning, a number of different things. I have a poll section here in the community part of my YouTube channel, youtube.com/3dgameman. Go into community, and there you'll see all these polls with all these interesting questions and whatnot. That's a great area. I love these polls. I don't know about you guys, but they do kind of give you an overview of the community and the people in the community. So that's wonderful. A few things here I just want to cover before I begin here. And those being, well, you can pick up a t-shirt if you would like to. Also, at the top right-hand corner of the YouTube channel, you can see up here, well, you can click on t-shirt. You can click on becoming a Patreon. You can tip. My Twitter page is there. Also, Steam if you want to. I'm not on Steam a lot these days, so, but anyway, it is there if you want to check all that out. And what else is there? That's about it. Yeah. Remember to subscribe, hit the notification bell, and all that kind of good stuff, so you get notified when I release a new video. That's rather important. So let's begin here, and let's just dive right into the polls here first. And then after that, I'll go through a few other things at the end of the show or in the middle of the show about a number of things that I've kind of like seen in my news feed throughout the week. So I can talk about some of those, and then we'll just have a chat about what's going on. I don't know what your weather is like in your neck of the woods, but here again this weekend, unfortunately, well, it's the spring, I suppose. So it's rather poor. It's raining again outside. It's 6 degrees Celsius right now outside. So what is that in Fahrenheit? 43 degrees Fahrenheit. So yeah, that's pretty cold. Anyway, it is what it is, and it's the spring, and we've been having a lot of 4 seasons in one day here in Canada. There's snow, there's rain, there's sun, there's cloud, so it's kind of like all over the place. But again, this is time of year, so we can't complain too much, I suppose. So let's begin here, and you guys can chime in with me on the polls if you would like to as well. So the first, let me refresh this here. Oh, and by the way, you see this picture here at the top right hand corner of the screen? I like to say that this is a picture that I took. Well, I could have taken it. I've taken lots of pictures like this. But for the fact of being quick and easy and simple, this is an AI image. So I just generate these every single week, pop them up there. Looks kind of cool. Yeah, well, there you go. Easy peasy, lemon squeezy. All right, so the first question here is, do you prefer a cool or warm place when on your computer or when you are gaming? For the most part, the majority of people like it cool. Next to that, warm enough, but not too hot. I'm kind of like between warm enough, but not too hot and not too cold, because of course, if you have a gaming computer, you want it to be as cold as possible, right? So, and despite how good the airflow is inside of the case and all of that, you still want it to be cold. Or cool, at least, not cold, because cold would be like, maybe 10 degrees Celsius or something. And that would be probably too cold. Your fingers would start to kind of, freeze up, so to speak. And, but yeah, it's nice to be cool in your room, especially if you have a gaming computer system. I normally have my case open all of the time. I just have an air compressor, which I blow out the dust periodically, maybe once a month, and that's fine. But if you do have your case open, make sure that you clean it out from time to time, because dust can build up inside of the system. So majority of people here, are pretty much with me on this, and they like it cool, and that's kind of how I'd say it's probably in this room here. I'd say it's probably, I don't know, 18 to 19 degrees, and that's perfect. perfect temperature. I mean, some people like it hot, right? Like really, really warm. And some people live in warm environments. And if you live in a warm environment and you don't have any kind of decent AC, air conditioning, then, oh boy, that's going to be really hard to keep your system cool, even with water cooling. You need water cooling on the CPU and the GPU probably to keep it cold. And if I was to be living in a super hot environment where I did not have AC, or maybe the energy rates have gone up so much, because God knows in the next few years how much energy is going to cost, it's going to be tremendous. And what's going to happen is it's going to be cheap at first, because, you know, let's all convert everything to electric ovens, electric cars, electric everything. And then, you know, it'll be cheap at the beginning, and then and then of course, you know, get more and more expensive. I can't even imagine how expensive electricity is going to get in the future. It's, I mean, things are bad now when it comes to, you know, products and services being super expensive, but I hope that's not the case. Maybe nuclear fusion will become really like real reality, or other forms of energy will become, you know, more prevalent and whatnot with the onslaught of AI. So, but well, anyway, let's hope for a bright future, not a dismal future, right? Don't get me into all that stuff, politics and who's elected and who's in power now and who's running for elections next year. Boy, that's a really dirty nest to get into. All right, so let's go on to the next question here. What's the maximum you'd spend on a video card? Now, when I posted this, I thought this was going to be an interesting poll, and it is. I thought, to be honest, given how expensive video cards are these days, that it would be a little bit higher, but you know, wages haven't changed much over the years. So, you know, it's probably pretty accurate, right? If you remember, though, back in the day, I mean, I'm going way back 20 years ago, but 3DFX with their Voodoo series, these were the first true 3D gaming cards that were on the market. And they were expensive. I mean, they were $400 to $800, as I recall. And you could put them in a dual configuration SLI, and then of course you're buying two cards. That's even more expensive. So they were probably approaching $1,000. That was 20 years ago. That was a heck of a lot of money. So, but still, how much do you want to really pay for a video card? I mean, I think $500 is certainly reasonable. And this is what the poll indicates. Most people, the maximum they would spend is $500, or between $500 and $1,000. Now, you can get some really good cards for, you know, $1,000, not for $500, to be honest, unless they're used. You know, if you're going used, maybe pick up a NVIDIA 3080 straight, just a plain Jane, older, released 2 years ago, 3080. Still an amazing card for sure. That's what I have right now, actually, a 3080. I was thinking about upgrading, but like, why? The only option that I would have would be to go from where I am, is to go to a 4080 or 4090, and I'm not doing it. I'm not, even if I can afford it, I'm just not doing it. I'm not spending $1,500, $2,000 for a video card. I'm sorry, I'm just not doing it. Maybe it's just out of principle. Maybe it's just out of stubbornness. I don't know, but I don't want to spend that kind of money on a video card. So for me, the maximum is $1,000. That's where I want to be, between $1,000 and $1,500, because everything in the States that's like $500 or $600 is around double here. So especially if it gets shipped here and duties and taxes and all that stuff. So if it's $500 in the States, it's $1,000 here. If it's $1,000 in the States, it's $2,000 here, generally speaking. So we're looking at, most people are spending between $500 and $1,000. So yeah, that makes a lot of sense. That's still a lot, right, to spend on just the video card. I mean, a couple of years ago when I got back into all of this, and I bought a pre-built, because at the time I couldn't get, the parts were limited and what was available was astronomical. Like the prices were $5,000 to build a system. And I'm like, no way, I'm not doing it. So I went with an Alienware system, and I got a 3080 in it, and the cost of the whole entire system with the specials they had on it, this was just before actually this whole COVID nonsense started. And I think I got the whole system for like $2,000. So that, and the cards were $2,000 back then. So, and I've been using it ever since, and it's been wonderful. I've played all the games, including Cyberpunk. Ray tracing's always on. You know, some of the games I don't have at max settings, but most I do. And some games, you don't need to have some games at maximum, maxed out eye candy settings. You just don't. I mean, like I'll just take, for example, Red Dead Redemption 2. Do you need tree tessellation on? Tree tessellation? Probably not, but mostly not. Things like motion blur. I don't know. Do you? Maybe. Not for me. There's ways, right, to tweak it where you just don't go to an ultra setting and say, that's it. Unless, of course, you have a 4090 and you don't care. But even then, if you want a certain frames per second and you're at 4K, you still need to tweak those settings. And some stuff you're just visually not going to see. So why have it enabled? You know, you're going to get that maybe 5, 10 extra frames per second. And if you are down around, 70, 60, 50 frames per second, that 10, 15, 20 frames per second could mean a lot. And one setting could make that difference. And of course, what is that setting? Well, who knows? Because it depends really on the game, right? So there you have it. Most people are spending between $500 to $1,000 on their video card. I wonder what's going to happen with the cost of video cards. I'll probably discuss that a little later on in the show here, but yeah, I'll do that because let's get through these polls first. I kind of veer off, into a different direction all the time. But okay, so next one is, do you prefer a keyboard with a wrist rest or without one? The questions are definitely with one, without one, with or without, it doesn't matter. Now, this is, I don't know, weird, kind of. Most people are saying without one. All right. Yeah, I wouldn't have thought that, to be honest. I would have thought that most people would have wanted a wrist rest, because if you're on and resting your hands on the keyboard all day, if you're spending a lot of time on there, you would probably need that to help. However, if you're a gamer, probably not. It would probably just get in the way, unless, of course, it's incorporated within the keyboard itself. I personally don't have one on my keyboard, but, I wouldn't mind having one, to be honest. However, and it also kind of depends on how the keyboard is designed, right? If the keyboard is designed to be comfortable without a wrist rest, then, but you can always buy a wrist rest, right? And I would recommend it if you're having issues with your wrists. Buy a wrist rest, and that could help a lot. Also, you can, just move your keyboard, or for that matter, your mouse, and try to figure out a better, make it line up so it works better for you. If, of course, you're having problems with your wrists when you're gaming, or your fingers or whatever, right? So there are ways. I've seen some gamers playing with their keyboards just like angled, like it's at like a weird angle. But whatever you're into and whatever works for you, really. But yeah, the majority of people, they don't care about keyboard wrist rests. Just maybe not a thing anymore, So there you go. But yeah, I know. When you're young, it doesn't matter. You could be upside down, on the roof at an angle, and you'd still have no problem because you're young and you're nimble and all the rest of it. But as you get a little older, you kind of want to be situated and planted down in a perfect scenario. And also, I guess it doesn't matter. Even if you're younger, if you're playing competitively or professionally or whatever, you need to have your setup in, tweaked, right, as well. So, I don't know. I would have thought, to be honest, that most people would want to have. That's pretty high, though. People are also saying that, definitely with one. So it's kind of like all over the place here, but most people without. Oh, that's weird. Now, this is interesting. This is a very interesting one. How important is RGB lighting on a gaming keyboard to you? Not at all. Most people say not at all. Next to that is not so much and very important. So the majority of people, at least in this community, are saying that lighting on a keyboard is not important. And that's weird, really, because it's a gaming community, so you'd think that the majority of people would want to have fancy, lights flashing and all the rest of it. For me, I don't care. With it, without it. If it comes with it, but I do actually turn the LEDs always down or sometimes off, but on certain keys. That's for me. I find it annoying. I find it distracting. It is nice though in a dark environment. If you have all of your lights turned off and you want to see the keyboard, then it's a good thing certainly to have it lit. And certainly, I mean, if you're on a laptop, if you buy a laptop, don't buy one. Don't buy a laptop without the keypad, the keyboard being lit. Now that's one situation where you want to buy, it's a laptop. So that's from my experience anyway, because I went through this over the years. You save a few bucks, you buy a laptop that doesn't have a keyboard that's lit, and you take it back because you take your laptop maybe to bed with you at night where it's dark, and you turn down your screen, and then you can't see the keys and and all the rest of it. So I think for a laptop, get a keyboard that is lit so you can see what's going on when you're in those dark places. But for me, I don't care whether the keyboard has is backlit or not, or if it has fancy LEDs and breathing and all that stuff. I've had tons of keyboards in the past, and I've turned all that off, to be honest, all the breathing and fancy stuff. And, I just didn't use it. It was like one of those things where, this is great. This is fancy, but, and you can set it up certainly when you leave your system, you can have it glowing and stuff. That's kind of cool, but it is kind of cool. I mean, lighting is awesome. It is certainly. It's nice on your system. It's nice on your devices. It's nice, for example, in the background here, right? Lighting is very important. It is, absolutely. I'm not saying it isn't, but I think that most people are agreeing with me. It doesn't matter whether. And also the other thing is, most of the products you buy with RGB lighting, of course, they're going to be what? More expensive, right? So that's also another. Oh my gosh, Terry is here. Terry, how you doing, man? Is this the first live show that you've been in? And hello to everyone else that is here. That's right. The important thing about a keyboard, in my opinion, is you want to get one that has a nice tactile response, and maybe one that has keys that are closer together, especially if you're gaming. If you're not gaming, well, don't do that. But you want to get more of a compact keyboard, in my opinion, for gaming, and you want one with a nice tactile response. So, but each to their own. Each to their own. All right, so let's go on to the next question here. And this one I was a little surprised about, considering the community, but then again, do you install the NVIDIA driver and GeForce experience, or just the NVIDIA graphics driver? Now there's a difference, right? Because if you install the GeForce experience along with the driver, what's going to happen is that GeForce experience part of this NVIDIA driver set is going to kind of tweak the game for you based upon your video card. So if you want the driver and the software to automatically do everything for you, get the driver and the GeForce experience. If you want to have total control of the driver and the settings, go with just the basic NVIDIA GeForce driver. That's what I do. I've always just went with the driver, not the GeForce experience. However, that's not the case here. The majority of people just want to set it and forget it, and the majority of people go with the NVIDIA driver and GeForce experience. And for a lot of people, hey, that's perfect. You know, that doesn't matter. If you want things to be automated and you don't want to go into all the settings because it takes time, perfect. Absolutely. I'm not saying it's a bad thing. It's something that I just don't do. I would rather have control over the driver and know what's going on. And also, I have found also with the GeForce experience that sometimes it messes the games up and sets things to things it's very difficult to I don't know, to remove the settings. And I just don't like, I didn't like the whole experience with GeForce experience along with the GeForce driver. I just get the driver, installed it, and that's it. You guys remember, some of you that are older probably do. I mean, I came from a DOS environment, well, long before that. But drivers, video card drivers, if you did not install them properly on the operating system, you were in trouble. You were going to have a lot of problems. I remember back in the day, you would have to, like for example, let's just say you removed your video card and you upgraded your video card. Well, you still kind of need to do this, right? You need to remove the driver first, restart, install the new driver, restart. You should be fine if you do that. And even if you didn't upgrade your video card, you just want to update the driver, you still need to do the whole procedure. And now all you do is download the driver and install it, and everything is hunky-dory. Things have become so simple as of late, haven't they? All across the board. When it comes to phones and technology and conveniences. All right. I'll catch up with some of the comments here after I get through some of this, some more of this. There's just a few more questions here, and then I'll cover some more things that I have lined up here, some of the news throughout the week. All right, so the next one is, how long should your computer last? Now, this is kind of a bit of a generalized question, right? I mean, in theory, a computer could last 10, 20 years, I suppose. You can update the components in it if you want to. But this was a general kind of question where, how long do you think it should last? I guess it's like asking, how long should your washer and dryer last? You know, grandma's washer and dryer lasted 40 years, but today your washer and dryer might only last 5 years because there's an end of life factored into it all. Anyway, I digress. How long should your computer last? Most people are saying, 3 to 6 years, 6 to 9 years. And that's really, I agree. That's kind of where it falls, right? Overall, generally speaking. Anything over 10 years, you're going to have to start. You're starting to get into bottlenecks at that point, right? And of course, it depends on what you're doing. If you're just doing basic things, playing older games, they might last longer than that. If you're playing the latest and greatest stuff, it's not. You're going to have to upgrade your computer system. But yeah, so I agree with that. 6 to 9 years, I think, that would be a reasonable amount of years. Let's face it, you're throwing a lot of money right into a computer system, anywhere from $1,000 to $4,000, right? So you want it to last. Even if it lasted, let's just say it lasted 5 years and it was $5,000. That's $1,000 a year. That's a lot of money. That's a lot of money. So. Next one here. And I think this is the last question. This is a good one though. This is about your smartphone. Your smartphone location when you sleep. Where do you put your smartphone when you go to bed? Is it right next to you? Right next to your head? Is it kind of like maybe a little further away? 4 feet, 6 feet away? Or is it across the room? Or is it in like another room? Now, I don't want to get into this whole like thing about how dangerous smartphones, are with regards to, the wireless signals and everything else that's coming from and coming to your smartphone. We have them on our person all day long, right? Probably in our pocket. Is it safe? Probably not for the most part. However, having a smartphone close to your head all night maybe is not a good idea. Maybe not. But majority of people say they have their smartphone right next to them. All right. Yeah. Next down to that is a distance away and, other side of the room. That's me. I'm on the other side of the room. And the reason why I put it on the other side of the room, well, it's not two reasons, really. It's one of them is to not have it close to me when I sleep for safety reasons. And the other one is if and when the alarm goes off in the morning, I have to get up, walk across the room, and turn off the alarm. The whole purpose behind that is to get me up. I have no choice but to get up, right? And turn it off. Because otherwise, you hit snooze, you hit snooze, you hit snooze. I'm a guy, I don't hit snooze. When the alarm goes up, I get up, turn off the alarm, and get up. Never, ever hit snooze, myself personally. Maybe that's another poll question. I don't know. Do you hit snooze? The majority of people do. You're tired, you're exhausted, you set your alarm an hour before you should get up, and then you just keep hitting snooze, hitting snooze, hitting snooze. Probably not good if you were to talk to some kind of sleep therapy expert. But when the alarm goes off, I get up, turn off, bam, start my day. That's it. That's how I do it. All right, so let's go do some of the comments here and see what's going on. So it looks like, Terry, this is your first time here in the live show. Certainly not your first time on 3D Game Man. You're pretty active. You're pretty active. It's good to see, man. And some of you here are also very active, which is good. Thank you for that. Some of you are new here. Some of you have probably been here for a very, very long time. I suspect the majority of people probably have been here for a very long time. Yeah, that's the other thing too. I mean, I'd say probably after 4 to 5 years, you want to think about replacing your thermal paste. If you're getting temperature problems on all your components, your CPU and your GPU, you might want to take it apart and just replace the thermal compound, because over time it's definitely going to break down. One of the first things that I did to my system, even though it was a pre-built, and I bought pre-built, as I explained earlier, because at the time, a couple of years ago, the availability for parts was just crazy, and the cost of a video card was insane. So anyway, I got a 3080, and the temperature was very, very high, even though I was undervolting it. And I took off the cooler, and I put new thermal compound on the GPU, and it lowered the GPU temps by, I think it was 10 degrees Celsius. That's a lot. That's a lot. This is what I don't understand, man. These video cards are terribly, terribly expensive. And why is it that you need to buy something so expensive, bring it home, take it all apart, void the warranty, install just simply thermal paste correctly for it to perform properly? Yeah, I have to say customers have so much tolerance when it comes to products, But anyway, that's something else. Yeah, it's something you shouldn't have to do, right? But to lower it by 10 degrees Celsius just by installing thermal compound? Oh, really, Zoran? It's your first time, man? Seriously? You know, I've been on YouTube, well, from the beginning, and I actually started the whole review industry, the video reviews back in, well, it was kind of like before the year 2000. That was 5 years, 6 years before YouTube. So welcome. I hope you stay. I mean, I'm pushing a lot of Red Dead Redemption 2 videos out. I cut up these live shows. I put those out. And some things also I cut up from this if I find it or think it will be interesting for the audience. And let's face it, a lot of people, well, they don't show up for these live shows for a number of reasons. Probably it's early, it's Saturday, it's the weekend, they got better things to do. I get it. All right, so let's go on here to a few other things that I have lined up for this live show. And these are things that I just kind of like pop up in my news feed throughout the week, and I find it interesting. I don't know if you guys will, but I find them interesting. So this is actually fascinating. This is NVIDIA saying that 83% of the RTX 40 series gamers enable ray tracing. 83% of the RTX 40 series gamers enable ray tracing. So what do you think? You think this is something that's true or not? I can kind of see it, and I can tell you why. Because the 40 series, I say the 4000 series, but whatever, same thing. This series of video cards, especially with DLSS 3, this series of video cards, considering DLSS 3 being so good, will give you amazing quality, but also give you a lot more performance, right? And if you're gaming at 4K and you want to have a good high frames per second, then this does make sense. Now, I believe they also did some kind of a poll on the RTX 30 series, and that was quite low. It was around 20 to 30%, I believe, that enabled ray tracing. I myself personally enable ray tracing. I mightn't have it to its maximum capabilities, like quality-wise, but I do enable it. It's nice. It gives the game an experience, an edge that I like. So visually, it's stunning, right? I don't know if you guys enable ray tracing or not, or even if you have an NVIDIA video card, but that's a reason to buy, in my opinion, the 4000 series NVIDIA cards, right, is for ray tracing, because that is just absolutely gorgeous. And some applications are better than others, right, where you have areas where, there's more reflections and things. So I love ray tracing, I had to say. It really, it's adding an element to eye candy in a game that is to the next level. And that's why I've kind of stayed away from, the AMD video cards for now. Although I've been eyeing the 3900 XTX video card, but again, ray tracing is an issue. Yeah, that's true. I mean, why would you get an RTX card if you're not doing ray tracing? Well, I mean, we get into a whole debate here about what drivers are more stable. Are NVIDIA drivers more stable than AMD? Probably right now they might be when it comes to the graphics gaming side of things with especially the 7900 series video cards from AMD. So, it is still, consideration for people when they buy an NVIDIA product, right? They're thinking that, oh, well, maybe the driver support would be better than AMD. I don't have any AMD cards. I'm just going by, what I'm reading and what I'm seeing from reviewers and things. But for example, if you look at the AMD, I think it's a 7900 7900 XT, 7900 XTX. I think they've had a lot of people have had a lot of nightmares, stories about driver issues and games not working because of the drivers, right? Now, drivers always generally get fixed pretty quickly, and that's a good thing, right? But yeah, stable. This is a good one. Terry says a stable drivers is an oxymoron. Yeah, it's true. A stable driver, which is a driver you really should only install unless you want to be on the fringe and go with the beta drivers. But stable drivers are like stable games, right? They push them out. They're not really ready, and like games. I mean, any new game that you buy, well, they have all kinds of issues, right? And that's to do a lot with, certainly with the product itself, the hardware and the software and the drivers and all the rest of it. So, yeah, but I guess it is what it is, and there's not a whole lot you can do about it. All right, so let's go on to the next one here. Now, this is kind of like on the same avenue when it comes to video cards, and this is about the RTX 4070 Ti 12 gigabyte video card. And this has had a lot of controversy, and a lot of reviewers, well, not happy. People are not happy, certainly, with the performance of the card. The 4070, not the Ti, but the 4070, I mean, that's an expensive card, and it doesn't perform very well at all. But if you're going with a 4070, I would recommend going with a Ti version of that. I think you can get them now like $799, probably $699. They're going to drop in price. I heard NVIDIA's stopping production on them because people are not buying them. I can kind of see why. I mean, probably would be better in this case if you're looking at around $699, $799 to go with a 7900 XT. And the 7900 XT, especially if you're playing Hogwarts, that game with the 7900 series cards from AMD is stellar. They work extremely well. However, if you want a card overall that's probably the best, and still probably is the best at a decent deal, and you can pick this up used, is the 3080 10 gigabyte. You can get the 3080 Ti or just the plain, 3080, which is the one that I have. And overall, this is, I think, still one of the very best video cards that you can pick up for the money, considering, of course, you can pick it up used. Remember, though, it only has 10 gigabytes. That could be a problem in some games, especially if you're playing at 4K. Otherwise, it doesn't really matter. But yeah, so that the memory is a little limited. 10 gigabytes is not a lot these days. AMD, I have to say, on that end is going way up. I mean, they're going up to 20 gigabytes, 24, I believe, on the XTX. So that's good. That's a good way to future-proof it. But for most people, they're probably playing at 1080p or 1440p, which is what I play at. So a 3080 is a good all-around card. And you can pick them up probably for maybe, I don't know, $500 or so US or less, probably. So that's an excellent video card if you're looking at getting and upgrading to a video card. Now, remember, this is the 30 series or a 3000 series video card. So you're only going to have DLSS 2, not 3. All right. Now they've revised DLSS 2, but it depends on the game. If the game developer has not updated the DLSS within the game, then it's not going. I don't enable DLSS because I'm only playing at 1440p, so I don't really. And I find with DLSS 2, the quality is not quite there. I've seen DLSS 3, and it is brilliant. It's really, really good. So it's good. There's nothing wrong with that. It's kind of cheating because you're upscaling in a way, right? It's AI and all the rest of it. But 4K plus, even with a 4080 or a 4090, you're probably still going to need it to enable it. But yeah. All right, so let's yeah. Yeah, you're right. I mean, the 4070 Ti was supposed to be launched as a 4080 12 gigabyte. Yeah, and I mean, the 4080 I mean, that's a great card, but it's a lot more expensive, right? But you're right. I mean, a 4070 Ti should be on par pretty much with a 4080 base, right? But it clearly is not all across the board. But. And speaking of video cards, the Intel Arc, right? Like, for example, the A770, 16 gigabyte, it has become a card that I think a lot of people are interested in, and certainly it's a cheap card. I think they're $200 or $300, right? Driver support, bit of an issue, but it's going to be nice to see what Intel has in store. And I think NVIDIA and AMD both need competition, healthy competition, that is. And that will be great for all of us because it would definitely reduce the cost of video cards. I predict that within the next few months, certainly at the end of this year, with the way the economy is going and all the rest of it, you're going to see prices on video cards and probably almost everything. I don't know if it's going to tank, but it's going to be much less than it is today. So if you can hold off, you might be able to get, for example, a used product is going to be like a 3080, for example, is going to be cheaper anyway, but you're probably going to be able to get a 4070 Ti for a reasonable price, maybe less than $400 or $500. And everything else will, of course, go down from there. I mean, wouldn't it be nice if all of us could have a 4090, right? But what are they now? They're like $2,000, right? $2,500 or something? And you don't need it. If you're playing at 1440p or 1080p, you don't really need to have a card that is that powerful. You really don't. 4K, you do. Yeah, well, Terry's saying here about SLI and Crossfire, and it's kind of like dead, gone. But I had many cards that were in a Crossfire configuration and an SLI configuration, and it was stellar, as long as the game, of course, could use it. That's an interesting comment. Yeah, bring back blower style fans. Yeah, well, yes and no. I mean, they, and there's no reason why they couldn't, right? Because they work extremely well. They pull in the cold air, blow it across the cooler, the heatsink, and pour it out the other side. They work extremely well. And in industry, they still use them, of course, but they can be extremely loud as well. Listen, make sure you get MSI Afterburner and undervolt your GPU, undervolt your video card. You might lose maybe 1 frame per second or something, but undervolting your video card, what it does is it lowers the core temp, right? The GPU temperature, just by a little bit, maybe 5 degrees, but that might be enough to get you to a place where your video card is not ramping up all the time. I mean, I know myself, like if my video card gets to 60, 60 or 70, it's starting to get really annoying, right? So you want to keep those RPMs down. Yeah. Yeah, you don't want your computer to sound like a jet engine. You don't want your video card to sound like a jet engine. You really don't. It's so annoying. And I suppose if you have a headset on, it doesn't really matter. But all right, so what's the next thing here I have lined up? So this is interesting. I mean, a while back, right? I don't know if you remember, but Netflix was enabling all this password sharing and all the rest of it. And I don't know if this stuff really affects the bottom line of companies, because people want stuff and they just want it and they're going to get it anyway. It doesn't matter how much the companies seem to charge. They still, they still subscribe. They continue to renew. I myself personally gave up on Netflix. I canceled my subscription and went with Paramount. Paramount is okay. I mean, there's there's a lot of great stuff on there, but I think after the year, I'll see. Well, if they get new content on there, but really, if you're watching a lot of TV, you want to have a number of subscriptions, like maybe Paramount, HBO, Netflix, and all the rest of it. If you spend a lot of time watching TV. Anyway, so this study was conducted by Kantar World Panel, whoever they are. Have revealed that Netflix has lost more than 1 million subscribers in Spain in the first quarter of 2023 due to the company's decision to end account sharing. So this is the whole password account sharing nonsense, right, with Netflix. I understand that you need money, but how much do you need? And do you need to upset your client base, that you already have? Maybe make it so that the newer, subscriptions are a little different than the older subscriptions and stuff. But, that's just the way it is, I suppose. But, again, they lost 1 million, but they could have gained 10 million, right? So who knows? I've heard other things about Netflix doing even better than they once did, even since this account sharing, password sharing nonsense was implemented. So who knows what you can actually believe. All right, so the next one here is support for Windows 10. How many of you here are still on Windows 10? I am not on any of my systems. I have upgraded to Windows 11. And I've had a good experience overall with Windows 11, although as of late, too much ad stuff popping up and too much information I'm being pushed that I don't want to know. It's not my smartphone. Microsoft, my Windows operating system, is not my smartphone or my tablet. And why are you trying to make it that way? Make a desktop gaming version of Windows, whatever it is, just basic, raw. We'll pay an extra little bit for it, maybe, right? But just make it really basic, really raw. That's all we want. We don't want stuff popping up all over the place. You need an option when you install it. Gaming, basic stuff. Don't disturb me. I don't want to see pop-ups. I don't want to see anything. That's an option that they could do. But of course, they want to market, right, at you. That's one thing that I'm not happy about in Windows 11, but that's only happening as of late, to be honest. And I suspect with Windows 12, and when that comes, there'll be more ads and more AI. And but again, Microsoft, please give us an option in the install process to set it up in a basic, kind of basic setup. Now, of course, you can go in if you know what you're doing and set it up that way. And I have done that, privacy modes and turn off a lot of stuff and whatnot. But some people don't have the skills to do that, right? So make it easy. Just make it easy for people. But instead, they want to. I get it. I mean, they have to make money and stuff, and they want to push ads at you. And to be fair, I mean, Google is pushing ads at you all the time anyway. So if you have a smartphone, yeah, but it's the way of things these days. So I completely digressed right off this topic here, completely, totally. So what I was trying to say was support for Windows 10 is ending, done, on October the 14th, 2025. So if you still have Windows 10, you have some time, and who knows, maybe they'll push that date back or something, or forward, or who knows. But as of now, the support for Windows 10 is ending on October the 14th, 2025. The final build will be 22H2, apparently. So... yeah, I mean, if you want to have Linux, you can have Linux. You want to have a Mac OS, you can have a Mac OS. I'm really looking forward to, by the way, Apple's new venture also into the GPU side of things. I think the M3, the M4, when it comes down, I think they're going to be a lot more gaming support for those, for that version of Mac. And I mean, even if you have an M1 today, you can play games. I've played Cities Skylines, for example, on an M1. Perfect. Fine. No problem. So that's going to be competition there too. So if you have AMD, of course, and NVIDIA really right now are the only two, right? So then you have Intel coming up. Hopefully they can make headway in this. And then there's Apple as well. But if honestly, like, I'm not an Apple fanboy, not at all. I mean, not at all. Don't get me wrong, I'm not. But if I can buy an Apple system, like an M3 or an M4, for the same amount as building a PC, and due to Apple's OS, Mac OS, and all the rest of it, I would probably swing more towards that, because I kind of dip in a lot of photo editing, video editing stuff, and gaming, and the Macs with enough memory and all the rest of it, they work extremely well. I mean, this little MacBook that I have, an M1, I got no problem at all in this with DaVinci Resolve, rendering things, doing anything. It's super powerful. And this goes back a couple of years, right? The M2, I don't know. I mean, that's, not so great. You have to kind of up the spec, and then you're paying more money. The M3, M4, I think when it comes down the pipe, maybe at the end of this year, beginning of next year, hopefully that will be something that will be interesting. Like, for example, a Mac Mini M3, M4 could be stellar. Like, very small, little box, right? It's pretty silent. It sits on your desk. If you can do everything on that. Yeah, I think though in the gaming world, that's a long way off. I don't know, but I'm thinking that's probably a long way off. So how are we on time here? We got another 8 minutes. All right, so let's. I'm going to power through this last part of the show here. I hope you've enjoyed the show so far, guys. Just reading some of the comments here. Windows Vista. Oh my God. Really? That was a disaster. Okay. Now, I just want to show you guys some new games that are free. Actually, yeah, let's go through the Epic ones here. Let's do this first. So this is some new games. Epic, of course, every week they release new games. And say what you might about Epic, at least they're giving away free games. Who else is doing that? I mean, Steam does it from time to time. GOG does it from time to time. They all do it from time to time. And it's good. Epic has this game, Poker Club, which does anyone care about this game? Probably not, right? But it's free. Grab it. Get it. It's free. I grab all these free games. You never know. Maybe in a few years from now, you might want to play this game, right? So this one's free. So you can head over to the Epic Store and get this one for free. Now, this other one here, this looks actually really good. Breath Edge. Yeah, this looks pretty decent. And it's got some decent ratings as well. So this is a game where you can kind of have a space adventure. and it's free. If you're looking for something to play and you don't have the money to spend on a game, 30, 40, 50, $100, then certainly this might be an option, you know? So Epic, have to say, they've released some great free games. One of the best ones I think that they've released that I recall, I mean, there's been a few, but I think I got Alien Isolation from Epic. That was one of the best Alien games out there. So if you haven't played Alien Isolation, make sure you grab that game. I think it's cheap now, really cheap. And by the way, now that I'm on the masterpiece games that are completely underrated, if you haven't played Mad Max, you can get it for like, I don't know, $5 or less. It's a masterpiece, actually. It's a masterpiece. Mad Max is a masterpiece. Open world, you know, Mad Max themed game, incredible. All right, so what else is here? So this is a couple that I've found stumbling around, actually. This is a planned release. It looks awesome. It's, I think, single player. It's player versus player, but it looks pretty cool. The graphics look incredible as well, a little different. It's like more cartoonish, but I think the whole idea with this game is to get amazing frames per second and just be smooth. And also you can clone yourself. Sorry, not clone, but you can mask yourself in this game. So that's pretty neat as well. So you're invisible. It's like this invisible mode, which is neat. So that's out of action. You might want to check that out. It's a planned release. And this is another one that has early access. You can download it. You can download the demo. It's very basic demo overall. I think there's just like one person working on this game, as I recall, which is incredible from what I've seen of it. I haven't downloaded it myself, but it's called Road to Vostok. So it's similar to, like, you know, Fallout 4 and Metro. And I've played both of those games. If you haven't played Fallout 4, play Fallout 4. You just need like 200 hours to play it. And that is pretty much it for this show. I think I've done good on time here. Yeah, I'm just under an hour. So any comments, questions here, guys, before I head off? I hope you enjoyed the show. Before I leave here, though, again, I wanted to remind you, if you want to buy a t-shirt, you can do so. Let me pop up this little t-shirt thing here. You can grab, and unfortunately, the motherboard tray is not removable. I'll still need to get that 100% kick-ass t-shirt up, but you can grab one of those if you like. You can become part of the community on my Patreon page. You can tip me. You can hit my Twitter page if you like. And also my Steam page. I'm not on Steam very much these days, and I don't usually respond over there much. You know, kind of need time to myself, you know. But yeah, I'm sure you guys understand that. But yeah, that's going to be, I think, it for this show. And I thank you for subscribing. I thank you for sharing the content, telling other people about it. It all helps. I mean, it all helps. You don't have to, you know, send money or buy t-shirts or any of that stuff, but just subscribing and hitting the notification bell and sharing and getting the word out there, certainly all this stuff helps a lot. So if you are only tuning in right now, then, well, you missed the show. It's pretty much over, but I will be chopping up the show, and I will be putting into shorts throughout the week on both my YouTube channel and on TikTok. So, yeah, I will see you next Saturday, which I believe is May the 6th. My God, how time flies, eh? So I will see everyone. Thank you for showing up, for those that have. I will see you all next Saturday morning on May the 6th. Have a good day. I don't know what I'm going to do all weekend. It's raining outside. I'll just go for hikes and walks in the rain, I guess. Can't do much when it's cold and raining out.